Welcome to Her Fantasy Football. Make sure to check us out at herfantasyfootball.com, on ESPNW, on Twitter at HerFantasyFB, and on iTunes. We are so excited to have you this week. It is week 1 of some football. I am your host, Courtney Kirby.
And I'm Ashley Williams.
And I'm Brandon Lee.
Woo woo! It's regular season.
About time.
Set your lineups. Tonight's a game. That's my intro to week 1. It's so exciting.
That's the ditty.
That's my little ditty. We would like to start off the show a little differently today and apologize. We rolled out on ESPNW last week, and we did not get the responses we were hoping for. It was a quick rollout, and we were unable to do our best work. So, we are very sorry for offending those who found our categories, which was a collaboration with ESPNW, offensive. We assure you that was not our intention at all, and we will do better. There is nowhere to go but up, and that is what we plan on doing. Thanks for all those who support us, and we hope you guys enjoy the show, because now we're talking fantasy football.
Oh, it's about time. Oh. Can't.
It's been a long week for the ladies at Her Fantasy Football, so hopefully we're going to have a really, really great show tonight. It's going to be awesome.
It's going to be the best show we've ever had.
It's going to be the best show we've ever had.
It's a bold statement.
I don't want to set the expectations too high.
We just did. Best show we've ever had.
I already filled out our application for Pulitzer. It's based on this show. Week 1.
Week 1.
Where we know nothing. We know nothing.
This is the hardest week, right? It's the hardest.
It's terrible.
It's the best.
Well, it's the best. No, it's the best. You're right. But we spent all this time talking about the preseason stuff, and so it's kind of like if you've listened to our show, you know. So we're going to just repeat it and then say, but with the matchups, I guess this is how it's going to go. But you just don't know because all of a sudden we got the worst to first kind of teams. People come out of nowhere, and you're like, who's that person? So it's exciting. We're going to learn a lot.
It is very exciting, and I'm sure all the other analysis people out there in the fantasy world will agree. This is the week you make bold predictions, and 90% of the time you're wrong. So you know what? We're going to have lots of fun. We're all going to set the same lineups. It's going to be great. We started this, people. We started, drafting them. We're going to play them. So it's going to be a good show. It's going to be a great show. And the first game is actually a really great game, but we're going to get to that right after we start our social media questions. Again, so make sure you reach out to us at herfantasyfootball.com, on Twitter at herfantasyfb, and on Facebook /herfantasyfootball with any of your questions. We love interacting with you. We'll help you out. You can help us out sometimes too. So, Brandon, what do we have? What do we got?
All right, so one of our listeners on Facebook, Jenny Calvert, she asks, Alex Smith in Kansas City, home game versus Tennessee, or Andrew Luck at Denver? That's my current mental battle. Leaning towards Smith. Not sure Denver defense will let Luck do too much. Well, Did you listen to the Mighty Wind movie, Christopher Guest? Well,
the same kind of mockumentary series of Best in Show. Yeah. This one's tough, right? Because the Titans don't exactly have a phenomenal defense. So Alex Smith's got the potential to do something. But yeah, the Broncos D is looking really good, but then again, it's Alex Luck. So I was kind of thinking the opposite, that Alex Luck, this could be a pretty high-scoring game.
Alex Luck.
Sorry, Andrew Luck, my goodness. Andrew Luck. I feel like that might be a high-scoring game.
Yeah, I'm with you, Ashley. I feel like, this is where you really need to, play the guys that you drafted, right? It's Andrew Luck. Okay, this might be the hardest game of his whole entire season, playing the Denver Broncos, which, mind you, last year the Broncos defense was awful. They had several new people added to the team that makes them top 5 defenses now, at least in the top 10. So, yeah, but name name 2 wide receivers for the Kansas City Chiefs. You know? There's 3 wide receivers for the Indianapolis Colts that could all have good games. You know, there's just way more targets. It's Andrew Luck. Just
That was be my comment, is that you're really looking at Donnie Avery as your top receiver right now for the Chiefs because of Dwayne Bowe's suspension.
Yeah.
And that ain't great. That ain't great. So, I would go with Luck.
Yeah, we have Andrew Luck at 5, and we have Alex Smith at
24.
By him.
24?
Where did I put him?
Yeah.
Memory.
Yeah,
thing.
24. Yeah, there you go. Way to go. And it's because of the receiver situation, the offensive line situation, and I don't think they're going to have to do as much as Andrew Luck will have to do against Denver.
Yep.
So that's where we are on that. How about this? Tyson Kirkpatrick, also from Facebook. All right. He asked 3 questions. So I'm going to go with this one. Is there any value left in Andre Johnson in Houston as a dependable wide receiver 1? I'm afraid of Fitzpatrick not having any time to throw deep.
Yeah.
Interesting. It's an interesting question.
I have the Texans, so I can start that one off. I'm having the same moral dilemma, right? Because to some extent, and I talk about my analysis later, you know, Andre Johnson's a bit quarterback proof. He's definitely the most talented of the receivers. But my biggest concern here is that Fitzpatrick has been named the starter, but they also just picked up Ryan Mallett. So basically they're re-engaging in a quarterback competition right out of the gate. And that doesn't give them a whole lot of confidence in Fitzpatrick, a lot of time to gel. And he's right, the offensive line doesn't give Fitzy a whole lot of time. I don't like him as a high-end wide receiver 1. But if that's who you drafted as your wide receiver 1, I don't think you would bench him for this game.
Yeah, I don't. I want to. This is one of the games where I want to see him play, but I didn't draft him as my wide receiver 1. I drafted him as my wide receiver 2, and I got him easy peasy. So hopefully you had like another option, or you have great running backs and just play him, and then you're gonna have to assess. You know.
This isn't really a matchup thing. It's the offense themselves, and you know, you drafted him, so you're gonna play him. So,
there's cause to be nervous. But again, you did draft him. You did draft him as a wide receiver 1 or a high-end wide receiver 2. Either way, in week 1, you're playing him because that's how you drafted him, right? He hasn't given you a reason to bench him yet. You haven't seen anything in a regular season game that's going to lead you to believe that this is huge red flag problematic yet.
Right, but I drafted DeAndre Hopkins too. I mean, I'm liking Hopkins this year. I'm going to put that out there eventually. Great. We have a question from Peter Kimball. Hello, Peter Kimball. Okay, so I feel like Sanders versus Indy and Decker versus Oakland are pretty solid wide receiver options, but I don't know who to play in the flex spot. Nelson at Seattle, Jackson at Carolina, Baldwin versus Green Bay.
Terrible options. Oh, so sorry, Peter.
Yeah.
Bad matchup.
Because you have awesome players and you can't choose.
Yeah.
No one feels bad for you,
Jordy
Peter.
as a flex. Okay.
Right. What do I do with Jordy?
Yeah, I mean, I think is a good spot to, like, don't live and die by matchups. Yes, it is Seattle, and Green Bay is not going to have the best game of their season most likely tomorrow or tonight, but it's still Jordy Nelson. Like,
yeah, I mean, the guy fell in like the top 10 last year. You're not going to bench Jordy Nelson. And the fact that he's your flex,
yes,
solid drafting, Peter. We know Peter really well, so that's why we can bust his balls here, but
it's so good.
I would go Jordy hands down. I wouldn't even think twice about it.
Yeah, and next time invite me to that league. You know?
Who you drafting? Love it.
On top of that, like, Jordy Nelson got over 1,000 yards receiving with Aaron Rodgers out for a large portion of the season. Yeah. I don't even know how he did that. It's magic. So
Seattle's not scaring Jordy.
Well, especially with this new 5-yard rule, which isn't really that new, but anyway, I'll talk about that in a minute. All right, guys. So we have. Well, I'm just going to do his Twitter handle. @Bill_S24 asks, better pickup, Cody Latimer or Andre Caldwell?
Ooh, that is tough. You know, I picked up Caldwell. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's just because I feel confident in him because he's not a rookie that I'm like, okay, you know. But it's tough. They're both, I mean, they're both I think both very talented on a very talented receiving squad, and I think both of them are going to see some action. But I picked up Caldwell. Personally, I did. Like, I drafted him late after the Wes Welker thing was announced, and I'm very happy with that. Granted, Latimer was already off, but I would have picked Caldwell anyways, so.
I think they're both kind of equal talents, but Caldwell's been around a little bit longer. I think we like to root for rookies, but technically Caldwell's higher in the depth chart, so to me I think he's just going to get a bit more playing time. That doesn't mean he'll do more with it, but I will say Peyton Manning hasn't had any problem throwing the ball his way, so there's not any nervousness on Peyton's part in terms of incorporating him into the offense, and I think they're going to look to him, especially with Wes Welker out, to really create a rapport for the 4 games that Welker's going to be out. So I think this very first game will be really indicative of who they're going to be going to in that, you know, third wide receiver set. So my vote's Caldwell, barely.
Yeah. I don't love either until I see them. I know that sounds wimpy, but it's true. I think that there's a possibility that the running backs will actually be, like, you know, a big part of the making up for a lot of what's going on in Denver right now that I can't even talk about, which brings me to Brad Evans' Twitter question from Yahoo. That's right, that Brad Evans. He says, yes, was Wes Welker's suspension caused by ingesting mollies or huffing Old Spice? Discuss.
He was an Old Spice guy, which is great. And I love the Old Spice commercials, by the way, when, like, the mother comes to the bowling alley, like, you know, retriever. It's hilarious.
Just trying to lighten the mood.
You know, I was at my parents' house, and it was right after the suspension was announced, and a commercial came up with Wes Welker for some car dealership, and Mommy Williams is like, oops, somebody didn't get the memo. You know, it's like, it's so good. You have to wait for hurricanes before you can start releasing those commercials again.
Everyone was shocked by that news. Was it just me?
No.
Well, and his reaction is so, like, aggressive that it means
really
I don't.
angry.
Yeah, he's really angry Welker, angry little guy. So I don't know. I mean, I can't wait for more and more to come out to what it was. You know, there's a lot of ways that you can test positive for it. So I'm guessing he wasn't taking Molly, but, you know, who knows?
Well,
Yeah. I'm not gonna guess the Molly route. I don't really see Welker kicking back with Mollies. I could be wrong. But no.
the whole thing really disturbs me. I just am kind of like, where? It just, it's like, well, my brain blew up a little bit. And how does he get a suspension so quickly and then Matt Prater had a whole year? Does anyone understand how these suspensions work as far as the timing?
Well, that's my question, right? Because you've got the whole Le'Veon Bell, LeClaire, Blount situation, and they aren't being suspended thus far.
Well, I think if it's if you get arrested or charged with it, they have to let the criminal process go through. But if you test positive within the NFL, then it's a faster, because you don't have to deal with courts. You don't have to be guilty or not guilty. But it was all very hush hush, and he already went through his appeal, and it was like the Broncos already knew it was going to happen, and yet nobody knew. Like even Ian Rappaport didn't know until we all found out. So,
but that's what's so interesting, that these guys know when they're going to be tested.
Yeah.
Random testing. They know when they're going to be tested. And again, Wes as a veteran does not strike me as some guy that's gonna let that, slip and fall through the cracks. And his response has been so interesting to it.
Very bizarre. I'm just going to do one bonus one just to make a statement. Okay, Fantasy Football Wiz says, Joik Bell or Stephen Ridley in standard scoring and why? I'm going to tell you something right now.
I was like, she's going to go off on a rant here.
Oh, no.
We're not. This is going to be short and sweet. Short and sweet. If you want to trust your fantasy team to Bill Belichick and Stephen Ridley's ball handling skills, I cannot help you. I am sorry. I just can't. It's too emotional for me. Bill Belichick is like where fantasy dreams go to die. I can't.
Where fantasy rushing dreams go to die.
Correct. The receiving dreams are beautiful, but the rushing dreams are they're so hard. We can't predict it. So I will probably never tell you to start Stephen Ridley over anyone.
He's lucky he just has a job with the Patriots.
Yeah, they thought he was going to get cut.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're not riding high on the Ridley train right now, and I don't think you should be either. But Joik Bell, my bold prediction for the year, again, we'll get to, I think that he may have equal, if not more, touches than Reggie Bush this year. And he gets more touchdowns than Reggie Bush. So if you add on additional yards, then you're looking at RB1 numbers here, not just like a flex. So, Bell, baby.
We had our family draft on Sunday this week, and I think it was Dad. Was it Dad who drafted him? He was like
Chris.
Chris. Jacqui. Is that what he said? Or what did he?
Totally, yeah.
Joy.
He went all French like we did last season on the name.
Which we do to everybody that we don't know how to pronounce their names. We make them French. So it was just a throwback to 2013, but it was good times. I'm on Bell's train.
Bell for sure.
Choo-choo. I love it.
Ding ding.
Well, thank you guys for all your questions. We love hearing from you, so keep them coming, and we'll keep answering them, and hope to take you to Fantasy Championship in December. Let's get to the Thursday night game. It's like the best game and yet the worst game for fantasy to start the season off, I must say, because it is two amazing offenses. And one really amazing defense that might eat up that amazing offense we all own. So we have the Green Bay Packers at Seattle Seahawks.
Well, okay, so this is going to be another lesson. Much like don't trust your team to Bill Belichick and running backs, I'm also going to tell you, I'm sorry, but you have to play your studs. This is the same as the Andrew Luck conversation. It's just the way it is, especially in week one. The last thing you want to do is have Aaron Rodgers on your bench because you were afraid of Seattle and then he goes off. Because then you wasted the reason why you picked him up in the first place. Okay, like you drafted Aaron Rodgers because he's amazing. Just play him. Yeah, he's probably not going to get you 35 points. You have to accept that and then move on. And I'm telling you, it's going to be hard to accept this week. And I apologize in advance because in Seattle, they only give up an average of 8.4 fantasy points to opposing quarterbacks.
Shot in the heart.
Yeah, you're too late.
You're too late.
I don't think Rodgers will be too late, though.
No. I think he's
the higher end of
better
that
than
average.
Yeah, he's like 12. No, I'm just kidding. I'm not saying I'm not projecting.
It's like 15. I bet he'll get a solid 15.
I mean, I think he'll get over 8.4 fantasy points for sure. Also, this is no contact rule. Okay, or the Seattle rule, or the Peyton Manning needs another championship rule, or the fantasy football rule. I don't know what you want to call it, but there's a new rule in town where you can't what is the word here? Initiate. There we go. Contact after 5 yards if the quarterback is still in the pocket. Sorry, Russian quarterbacks. So that could change the game. That could change it up.
Can't initiate contact within 5 yards up if they're still in the pocket?
Correct.
That's a very weird rule.
Yes, I'm sure it's going to be very hard to train those defensive guys to not do that. Flags everywhere.
It's going to look like the UN up in here.
So right after your receiver just caught a 20-yard pass, bloop, flag negated.
No, it wouldn't be negated.
No,
It would be
negated.
added
It's
to.
the defense. So it could be great for receivers.
Yeah. No, I mean,
I
or
suppose.
or it's just gonna be what it is. Like, I don't know. That's what I'm saying. Like, I don't know. Also, it's gonna totally change the pace of the game because if you're having all these flags happen all the time, I mean, you saw this, with like Philadelphia and Chicago. All of a sudden, they can't get their offense going because they're flag after flag after flag. Even if it's the defensive flag, you still have to get things going. So, I don't know. Anyway. But you also start Eddie Lacy and Jordy Nelson. Sorry, them's the rules. We told you. So, gut calls, though. I'm going to put Randall Cobb on the cusp here. Depending on the league that you're in, he's been great. He had double-digit fantasy points 4 out of his 6 games that he played last year. I don't have any problems with him, but if you did have a better option with him, I could understand that. I'm probably telling you to start him, but I can understand it. Also, details, Mason Crosby. I think they're going to be able to move the ball. I'm not quite sure they're going to be able to get into the end zone, which is great for your kickers. And bench warmers, Jarrett Boykin. So if I'm telling you Randall Cobb's a question mark, I cannot tell you that Boykin's okay. So that's my deep analysis on that. However, I do think that Jarrett Boykin's a great sleeper on the season, so get excited.
Yeah, but not against the Seahawks, no way.
I wouldn't, and in their house, no thank you. No thank you. I don't understand. So, anyway.
And reliving the Fail Mary, I love seeing all those videos going up right now.
Oh, yes, the Fail Mary. Oh.
With the temp refs, with the bad call.
So bad, so bad. I thought Aaron Rodgers was going to lose it.
Lose it. I wish he would have.
Yeah, that would have been nice. Seattle Seahawks. So they've been fabulous once again. And unless you're living under a fantasy football rock, you've probably heard Russell Wilson, 78.6 completion percentage rate, 3 rushing touchdown in the preseason. I mean, that's all there to love, and I think we're in. He's also 15-1 at home, so he does well there. But he's not always fantasy gold there because he doesn't have to do a whole lot. Mm-hmm. So
for low-scoring games and not a whole lot of yards in the air.
Yeah, I think it's changed a little bit this year. I have to say, I think it's changed. Also, obviously, you start Lynch. Gut calls, the 3-headed wide receiver monster is what I'm calling it. Percy Harvin caught 7 passes for 92 yards in the preseason. Doug Baldwin caught 4 passes for 43 yards, although he caught a ton of passes that got called back. I don't know what was going on with Baldwin, and every penalty was on a catch by Baldwin. And Jermaine Kearse caught 6 passes for 118 yards and 1 touchdown. So the 3 of them are going to be splitting things. Percy Harvin is back. He's healthy. That's exciting. Yeah. I mean, that's kind of where I am with them. They're gut calls until I see more. And then bench warmers, I mean, I didn't even rank their tight ends, so we could talk about them if you want. But you're going to have to really... Okay, great. So anyway, that's how I feel about this game, and I'm so excited to see it tomorrow. Bring back football. Bring it back.
Football's back. Football's back.
It's going to be a great opening game. It's a fun one to open up with.
Or it's going to be a blowout, and I'm going to cry.
Yeah.
Either way.
Blowout happening.
Either way, but no, it's going to be fine.
Well, there are a lot of morning games come Sunday morning. Usually it's split up between morning and afternoon, but I think there's only 2 afternoon games and the rest are in the morning. So we have a lot to talk about.
This is a weird week. There's like 2 Monday night games, too, or 2 Monday games, right?
Yeah.
Week 1's always weird.
We're trying to just gradually put us in there. But we're going to go to the New England Patriots and Miami Dolphins. Play him if you got him. I'm on the Julian Edelman train. I love him. I'm into him. You're going to start him. We have him ranked 18th. I think he's going to have a great game. You're also going to start Shane Vereen just because we have him ranked 26th, and you drafted him, so now you have to play him. That's the game. That's the rule. Tom Brady, we have ranked 15th, which, you know, if you're in a really deep league, yeah, welcome back. He's playing Miami. This might be a good week to play him and see how he does for you if you don't have one of those elite quarterbacks. And Rob Gronkowski, hey, you know, he missed the preseason. Don't fret. If he's starting, you are starting him. That is the rule with Rob Gronkowski. I don't care if he's injured. If he's playing, you are playing him. He's a freak in the best kind of way. So, sign me up. Love him. Also, their kicker, Steven Gostkowski, we have him ranked number 1. Man. That might not change throughout the whole season. We'll see. And the New England Patriots defense, we have them ranked number 2 this week. I think they're going to have a great game against Miami and their bad offensive line. So, yay. Gut calls. I have Stephen Ridley there just because we have him ranked 31st. Yikes. And, you know, number 2 wide receiver. I mean, sure they have a depth chart, but it's kind of still up in the air. That's Danny Amendola, Tompkins, LaFell, Dobson. We all have them ranked between 61st and 68th. I mean, literally, they're on top of each other. And I can't tell you who's going to be the breakout star this week between those guys. So, you know, if you have better options, I suggest you starting those for sure. And bench warmers, you know, Tim Wright is the new addition to the New England Patriots, and I love him, and he's great, and he's a fantastic athlete. But he's had 2 weeks now with them, and he's very new, and they're going to have to slowly integrate him into the offense. So he's on my bench right now, but I don't think he's going to stay on my bench. He might actually be a good, if you're allowed to play tight end and flex, good flex player moving on out. But we need to see it. We need to see him show us what he can do in the Patriots offense. So don't pull the trigger quite yet on him.
Yeah, don't be afraid to make your players prove it to you. Other than your stars, like we've talked about. You obviously play them. But the other guys, these kind of gut call guys, don't, let them prove it to you. As far as playing if you got him for Miami, I've got one. I may be stretching, but no Sean Marino.
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah, I knew you would. I'm
going to start this season off right. It's been my bold prediction since how many months ago? Saying, I'm on the train. But I'm not usually going to tell you to start a player that is the backup, because it just simply doesn't make sense. But in this case, it does, because No Sean was brought in to be the backup for Lamar Miller, but everybody knew that he was brought in really to be the big man in town, right? Yeah. If he hadn't had a minor surgery this summer that kept him out, the majority of the preseason, he would already be the starter on the depth chart. And if Marino has another big game this week, expect to see a roster change. I've said it before, I will say it again, Marino is the man there.
yeah. Even when Lamar was the starter last season, he did nothing. So
2 touchdowns. I won't get back into that rant because it'll put me in a really bad headspace for this entire show. But yes, Marino is the man, right? So as far as my gut calls, Brian Hartline and Mike Wallace. Hartline's ranked 45 on our rankings. Wallace is 34. I'm literally lumping these 2 guys together because they have the exact same analysis. Both crazy high potential, flashes of brilliance, and overall frustration for fantasy owners.
Yep.
It is what it is.
Yeah.
If I had to choose one that has a bit more upside, I would say Mike Wallace. But my issue is that Wallace will be more likely the one that's going to get covered by Revis. And, so temper your expectations for both of these guys. Again, they're ranked pretty low. They're probably not going to be in your lineup unless you're in a really deep league. Just temper your expectation for both of them. Bench warmers, it's coming. Who am I going to bench, guys?
Lamar!
He's on my bench. He's benched. Yes. So technically he's the starter. But how long that'll actually be true is dwindling. Literally, he is on the clock. He's not meeting the expectations. Even the coaches have said they had set higher expectations for him and that he's not meeting the expectations. When a coach actually verbalizes this to the media, that's a bad sign.
It's not cute.
It's a bad sign for you, right? So, and sadly, this preseason hasn't done many favors. He's only averaging 3.4 yards per carry. So, you're on the clock. You're on the clock.
Awesome.
That's it for the Dolphins.
That's it for the Dolphins. Buffalo Bills, the Chicago Bears.
All right, you guys.
Game of the week. Just kidding.
For one side of that.
Yeah.
So, okay, Buffalo Bills. I am going to start with the problem. The problem is the E.J. Manuel, Kyle Orton debacle. That's what I'm going to call it. I ranked E.J. Manuel number 25. Why? Because he's supposedly the starter, and Chicago's defense is terrible. So if he does start, he should be at least 25. But I don't know. On the season, you guys, I'm a little nervous. They brought in Kyle Orton for $11 million for 2 years. And
those aren't backup dollars.
Now, he got a hint better. I mean, it's still bad, though. But Manuel, he ended the preseason with a 61.0 completion percentage and 1 touchdown while also throwing 2 interceptions and lost a fumble. It's not what you want.
Not ideal.
No.
Not ideal.
It's not what you want. So there are 2 things. Number 1, I hate quarterback controversies.
There's
so many of them right now.
So many.
And I don't know how to assess the rest of the team until we have a legitimate decision made, right? So I hate quarterback controversies. That's my first comment. My second comment is Kyle Orton the luckiest man on the planet? Now, I know he had a bad time in Denver and Chicago, but the guy has made so much money being a backup quarterback. It blows my mind. He's so rich. He is so rich.
But it's invaluable to have a good backup quarterback, right? Because
I guess that's what they're getting. I mean, I guess that's why they're getting paid crazy numbers. That's crazy.
It's kind of like the ideal position, right? Other than like punter, where you don't really have any sort of physical contact. You still make good money as a backup quarterback, and you just sit there without getting hit all the time.
Absolutely. Matt Hasselbeck is like the luckiest guy as well, right?
Andrew
Luck's back up. He's like, I'm hanging out. I was awesome in Seattle. I'm done. It's cool. I'm just making money. That's all I'm doing. I'm just making money. So anyway, Kyle Orton might actually have to play though, so maybe I'll take all of this back. As far as the play, if you got him though, I wanted to start with the quarterback controversy because it really kind of taints the whole thing. But I will say, if you drafted C.J. Spiller, we're back to that again. You obviously believe in him. Go for it. The Bears were the worst team against the run last year, so we should all feel good about that, and then we should also feel good about Freddie Jackson. So these guys are going to run. I don't have any problem starting both of them. Yeah, I mean, just to also put it out there, Fred Jackson in the preseason had 13 receptions to Spiller's 4. I mean, it's weird there. It's a weird place. We don't know what's going on in Buffalo. So just putting that out there. Everyone thinks he's going to get phased out, but I'm telling you, a little engine that could. So got calls, all the wide receivers. I told you that they're all sleepers. My little Robert Woods and Mike Williams that I said were great if you could get them late. They're still sleepers. They're going to be fine. Just let this quarterback controversy thing be done. And then also Sammy Watkins. I don't know what's going on with those injuries, guys.
It's weird.
I think he's almost on the bench. Yeah. Oh, and then the Bears. Oh, I forgot I also covered the Bears. Boom, this one's easy. They're all awesome. Start them all.
Check.
Alshon, yes, please. Forte, yes.
Brandon Marshall.
Cutler, yes.
Cutler, yes, exactly. They're all out there. My only thing I'm going to say is that between the Brandon Marshall, Alshon Jeffrey thing, I have been still hearing people say, oh, are they going to really both be good? Yeah. Well, let me give you the preseason numbers, and I think this is about the same percentage it's going to be through the season. Brandon Marshall caught 10 receptions for 72 yards and a touchdown. Alshon Jeffrey caught 7 passes for 85 yards. Think about that, people.
That's right.
Sounds about
Less
right.
receptions, didn't have the touchdown, but more yards. So, got calls. Martellus Bennett. You guys, he's the only guy who's just a little So I just had to say that. I mean, I could go into the fact that he only caught one pass for 22 and 25 yards in the 2 games that he played. That might not help either. But that happened. And then bench warmers. The Chicago defense, what the what? But if EJ Manuel, so I'm kind of sitting here in my head though. If EJ Manuel does his interception fumble thing, they could even though they're terrible, they could have a good game. But I'm putting them on the bench because they really are that bad. I think Jared Allen will come in there and shape it up in the mid-season, but I don't know. It's hard. This is exactly what streaming defenses, like when people ask, like, oh, who do I start each week when I'm streaming defenses, meaning like I play a different defense based on the matchups. This looks like a juicy matchup, but Chicago's not good, so I can't really suggest it to you, but I would understand if you did.
I'm not going to hate on them for that. But.
I wouldn't hate you. I mean, I might not text you back right away as a friend. I'd be like, I need to think about what I'm going to say to you. But
definitely screening your calls, but yeah.
Yeah, So good luck to them. But I think this is one of those matchups where I think we're going to not learn as much as we want to learn about either team.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I think this is a weird week for them.
Well, let's move on to another quarterback controversy land. Cleveland Browns at the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Once again, I hate quarterback controversies. There is no quarterback controversy. It's Brian Hoyer. And why is it Brian Hoyer? Because Jordan Cameron is going to be awesome this week. So in the 2 full games that he played with Hoyer last year, he caught 15 passes for 146 yards and 3 touchdowns. So yay, Hoyer, for Jordan Cameron owners. So
yay.
Look at that, right? He's the number 1 receiver on the team. Go for it. And then same with you guys. Ben Tate is the starter. Stop it. And he's awesome. And he's going to be really great against the Pittsburgh D. Like, just stop it. I'm not going to get too into it because we got to keep this show going. And got calls. Cleveland defense. Why? Well, because it's the Browns.
They're okay.
And they're awesome. No, it's to say, like, they're awesome at defense. Joe Hayden, they're great. Yeah. But their offense makes them be on the field all the time. So
that's valid. That's a valid
they're
point.
The Browns. So I'm grappling. I think they're great, but I'm also concerned. I don't know their gut call. And bench warmers, I have no idea what the Cleveland Browns offense looks like. Literally, because of the stupid quarterback controversy, we have yet to see anyone get into a rhythm. So I cannot tell you any receivers that could possibly even be a sleeper on this team. I know that Andrew Hawkins and Miles Austin are going to be the starters, what have you. But I can't imagine, even if you're in a 12-team standard league, starting either of those guys. But watch. But I'm going to say watch, because one of them is going to emerge. So keep your eye on it, but the preseason did not help fantasy owners get to know the Browns. I have no idea who they are. Too bad.
You should at least be thankful that they did actually announce a starting quarterback, right? So that in that last week of practices at camp and this week they've been able to kind of hopefully gel a bit more as an offense, because it was so and I literally could not understand either why they basically did 5 series in, and the next guy did 5 series in, and 5 series this guy, like, at least let them go, more consistently together to try to develop some rapport versus this random. I mean, it was just wrong for everybody. It was just a terrible choice. But
well, they announced the starter in May. They announced the starter in June. They announced the starter in July. They announced the starter twice in August. They did. But then the media kept pulling them in, and they kept succumbing to that and being like, okay, let's check it out. And Brian Hoyer didn't do himself any favors in the preseason either, so I'm not going to make excuses for him.
Right.
No, but it's probably messing with his head, right? I mean, all of this, that's a lot for, someone to grapple with. And let's just hope his head's in the right place now so they can move forward, so we don't have to continue with this controversy.
Absolutely.
Right.
And let's move forward to the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Steelers don't really have any controversy other than, a little pot smoke in here and there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Le'Veon Bell, you're starting him.
Peace.
Yeah.
Got a lot of peace going on.
We're not going to go into detail on everything. player because the show would literally be 3 hours, and nobody wants that. So as far as who I am going to talk about, that's for sure a play if you got him. Obviously, Le'Veon Bell, but Antonio Brown. We have him ranked as our 9th wide receiver. And Brown gets targeted heavily as an offensive, and the offensive strategy will not change in 2014. While it is also rumored that Dre Archer will be the punt returner, it's not the case. Brown is still going to be the punt returner, which is interesting to keep in mind, right? Because you have a little bit more of an injury-prone situation, but also depending on your wide receiver settings in your league, this is good news if your receiver does receive those points. Not a whole lot to, but to definitely check that out. Antonio Brown, though, he's a top receiver in the league. He's a top 10 receiver. He's a no-brainer start. Gut calls. Ben Roethlisberger. He's actually looked pretty good this preseason.
I know.
He's ranked. It's encouraging over last year. First of all, we have him ranked 17, so more than likely you're not really going to play him because he's not. There's very few leagues that are 17 teams deep, and if you're in one of those, I'm sorry, that's rough. That's real rough. But he's a gut call only if you have another quarterback that's maybe in a really bad matchup and you literally did a draft where you purposely took your quarterbacks really late and you literally are looking every single week by matchup. This wouldn't be the worst matchup. But Marcus Wheaton is my real gut call here because he's really complicated, right? Because he's really talented. He does well in practice, but the entire preseason and actual games, he is not developing a chemistry with Roethlisberger.
I want him to, though.
I know, me too.
I know.
I drafted him in a lot of my leagues.
He clearly has the wide receiver 2
together.
Position nailed down. Mm-hmm. He's got it. He's a starter. But at what point are him and Big Ben gonna connect?
Tomorrow.
Better be tomorrow.
They're gonna go out to dinner tomorrow, and they're gonna get to know each other because we can't handle this.
It's been a bit rough. They need to figure it out and figure out pretty quickly. But if you have another option, we do have him ranked 48th. I'm not saying it'd be the worst idea in the world to wait a week on him to see if they've been able to work things out the last 2 weeks because it's not been a pretty preseason. Just dropping balls left and right. Yeah. Heath Miller I also have in the complicated category, in the gut calls, because he's an oldie and a goodie, right? Is he Jimmy Graham? No, not even close.
No.
Does he have the upside of Jordan Cameron and Greg Olsen? Not really. But what he does have, what he does have is, he has created rapport with Big Ben for years, and he is especially targeted in short red zone plays. So if they are, within 10 yards of the red zone, Ben is always looking for Heath Miller. He's always looking for him in that play. So in that sense, he's got a possibility for, some touchdown. Not so much yardage, but he does have the potential for touchdown. So, we have him ranked 16. He's kind of a gut call. Bench warmers, I've got Lance Moore, Martavius Bryant, Justin Brown, and Darius Hayward-Bay. Again, they're not getting a whole lot of playing time. If Marcus Wheaton hasn't even figured it out, these guys aren't going to have that great connection either. Really, just wait. Don't even think about it. Don't go there. But if you don't have Lance Moore, which you probably wouldn't because he was so low down, it wouldn't be a terrible waiver wire pickup if him and Wheaton aren't connecting still because he is the top of that list, Lance Moore is. So that would be my main thing is to say maybe look at that waiver wire if you're not seeing any sort of,
potential.
Not potential, but what's what I want to look for here? Any sort of
je ne sais quoi.
Yeah, with
yeah, that was it.
That's what I was thinking. I can't believe I didn't think to myself, je ne sais quoi. How did that not roll off my tongue?
Let's put it out there.
Think about it. Waiver wire possibility.
Very nice. Well, let's move on to the New Orleans Saints at Atlanta Falcons.
Saints. Okay, play if you got them. Well, I'm going to. I thought that maybe, and I'll start this next week. I'm going to write a haiku as to how you should always play Jimmy Graham and Drew Brees. I need to write different poetry items, something, because this is not interesting. Okay, it's just to play them. It's done. However, I'm putting these in my gut calls, but they're actually all maybe play if you got them because Atlanta's defense is not
great.
To snuff. So. Here's the problem. Here's some terrible analysis. You ready? You ready for terrible? Okay. Pierre Thomas, we have him ranked at 33, and Mark Ingram at 42 are worth a look at flex because the Falcons really are that beat up. They're really that bad. Same with Marcus Colston. We have him ranked 24, Brandon Cooks 40, and Kenny Stills at 52. I'm literally just listing the whole team, you guys. But I like we always say, one of them is going to go off. And you know what? To guess that one is borderline impossible. But I'm going to tell you right now that someone's going to go off. So
My money's on Colston,
My money's on Colston.
who I was not high on last year or the last 2 years. Like, really, his production has incredibly gone down. But there's something different about him this year.
I know. He's got like an extra spark
like
about
him.
him or something. I don't know. It's good. I like them.
I like him too, but I also remember the like crazy Kenny Stills game and this Brandon Cooks guy. He's real deal. They're all great. Someone's
But
gonna
they
go crazy
all have
too.
one big game.
Yeah.
That's what the Saints
Kenny
do.
Stills is I mean you're right. The whole team is, but Kenny Stills, especially for me, is such a boomer bust player.
That's why he's great in best ball though,
Right.
because when you
Right.
can play him when he goes off, he's fantastic.
Fantastic.
All of them are okay in best ball leagues. I mean, few people play best ball.
Oh
but
yeah, if you could play best ball, I would play every Saint ever. But it's tough to know. Bench warmers, though, this is interesting. They actually didn't have a kicker until a day ago. They cut both of their kickers. It's literally nuts. So, but they did get someone's Shane Graham. So I still wouldn't play him. So he's on your
They had
bench.
trouble last year too with kickers, didn't they?
They always do. It's because they were on the
I-
Garrett Hartley train for I don't know how long, that train
Yeah.
wreck.
Yeah. So clearly, kickers don't matter for the Saints. Is the-
Clearly
Yeah.
not top priority.
It's yeah. So don't play the New Orleans Saints kicker. See, I told you, hardcore analysis on the Saints. You guys, it's hard to do analysis on the Saints without being like, well, yeah, you know.
Well, the analysis for the Saints every single week is you're only starting Jimmy Graham and Drew Brees.
Well, unless you're taking
Unless you're in a best
chances.
ball. Unless you're in a best ball. And if Marcus
Yeah.
Colston steps up. I wouldn't play the other guys.
Yeah.
The
Well, I
Atlanta
think Marcus
Falcons.
Play him if you got him, Mr. Roddy White.
He's back.
And Julio. I just love saying Julio Jones.
Ugh.
It's so fun. We got Julio ranked 5, got Roddy ranked 16. You're playing both of these guys. Matt Ryan is also in our play if you got him. We have him ranked 7th. So I don't know why I went off on a complete diatribe about Matt Ryan, but it's going to happen right now.
Oh. Oh my.
I don't know. It might be hard, especially if you are new to fantasy football, because you're going to be looking at last year's stats, and you're going to be like, why would I pick this guy so high? And I understand that thought process. But you need to completely forget about last year. And since Matt Ryan entered the league, he has thrown for 60 touchdowns, has only missed 2 starts, and has thrown for over 23,000 yards. Okay? So before the disaster that was last season, and it was a disaster, that is what it was, let's call it what it is. You know, I mean, he and the Falcons were a dominant team in the league. And since Ryan was drafted in 2008, only 11 quarterbacks have thrown for over 20,000 yards. Only 11. And that order is Drew Brees, Phillip Rivers, Eli Manning. Okay, maybe we don't take that one too seriously right now. Aaron Rodgers, Matt Ryan, and then Peyton Manning. And Peyton Manning's only 6 because he literally missed an entire season of 2011, and yet he still ranks 6, which is crazy. But that's pretty good company to be in, and should give you all the reasons you need to trust this guy. Okay? Write him out. Love me some Matt Ryan. I don't know why I went off about Matt Ryan today.
Okay.
Well, I'm with you, Ashley. I want Atlanta to have a fantastic game.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is. It's because they were supposed to be so good last year, and they were so bad
It was so
Sad.
disappointing. I
that
know.
I'm just really hoping that they come out with a statement this week. And I don't know if it's going to happen. I know I'm sure Julio and Roddy will be fine, but we'll see.
Well, the running game's still questionable right now, so that's basically kind of what's going to take over my entire calls and bench section because, you know, fingers crossed Jackson will be ready to hit the field week 1, right? I mean, he's promising that last year was a fluke. It was his worst performing year, period. And he keeps telling us that he's going to be back to his 1,000-plus, rushing yard season. I hope you're right, Steven Jackson. I do. You know, and he's gone pretty low in drafts. So if he does blow up and throw up 1,000+ season, you got to steal in the draft because he was going, you know, pretty low. His ADP was not great this year, and with reason because he was terrible last year. So, you know, let's hope he's got some fresh legs to be able to make an assessment after this game. But the problem is if he doesn't play, right? So this is where it gets complicated because Devonta Freeman. This is extremely complicated because Freeman is a sleeper status. All lies on whether Jackson plays or not, right? Because the Falcons have not named the starter for Week 1 due to Jackson's injury keeping him out all season, but are hopeful that he will be active at the beginning of the regular season. We'll find out any day here. If not, Jacquizz technically is the backup. If you're looking at the depth chart, Jacquizz is before Devonta Freeman.
Yeah.
Jacquizz Rodgers he's had a less than impressive preseason, and you know, Devonta Freeman's stats are better, right? So what do you do? I mean, I have Jacquizz on my bench. He could be bumped up into that kind of gut call if Jackson doesn't play. I think Jackson will play. Let's be clear on that. But I don't know. If he doesn't, then I've got a feeling that Freeman's going to be in the same situation in this game where he's actually performing better than Jacquizz. So it's tricky. It's tricky. Just stick with your receivers and Matt Ryan. Or Steven Jackson if he does play. I definitely wouldn't play Jacquizz or Devonta Freeman if Jackson doesn't get the start.
And this is why we said to draft running backs, because it gets complicated real fast with some of these teams. It's just like, oof.
It's hard.
Stay away. We have the Jacksonville Jaguars, the Philadelphia Eagles.
Boo. All right, so Toby Gerhart, play him if you got him. He's ranked number 17 for us, and then I have no analysis. Why? I'm not lazy, but we don't know. we don't know. I mean,
he's so unknown. He's so yeah.
But I think it's going to happen. I believe. I want you to believe. Gut calls. Chad Henne. You heard me.
Whoa! Tannehill of 2013 right here.
No. Actually, he's here for 2 reasons. So, number 1 is, did you hear that actually Tim Tebow is on more fantasy football leagues than Chad Henne? That's crazy.
That's got to be a joke.
No, that's real. It's real.
No way.
It's like how some drafts had you able to draft Tony Gonzalez this year.
Yeah, and Jermichael Finley.
He's retired. Like,
doesn't make it.
Yeah, makes no sense.
My second reason he's on here is: do you think that the Raiders' last-minute decision to start Derek Carr is going to inspire the Jaguars to start Blake Bortles earlier than they thought they would? Or maybe they're just considering it on their own. I mean, do you think that's going to happen? Because don't you think people are going to be like, hey, can we try this out?
I do. I see where you're coming with that, but I feel like the Jacksonville Jaguars have already kind of thrown their hands up to this season. And they're just really into rebuilding their franchise, and they realize it's not going to happen overnight. I'm sure they don't want to stick Bortles in there, you know, with an inexperienced squad that still isn't mature enough, is my guess. So I'm thinking, no, I don't think they're in a rush to do Bortles. I think actually Bortles, who might end up being the most talented quarterback coming out, is going to be one of the last ones to start.
And I'm okay with that. They're taking an Aaron Rodgers approach, and I think that's smart.
But Aaron Rodgers learned behind Brett Favre.
I agree.
He was behind a Hall of Famer. It wasn't Chad Henne.
Henne's not Favre. That's true.
I don't have a problem with Chad Henne as a person, but let's be real. Chad Henne is not Brett Favre.
But here's the difference. They're not working. Yes, no one is arguing that. No
okay,
one.
well, I wanted to state it.
Make sure we're all clear on that. Turns out Henne is not Brett Favre.
Just putting it out there.
But I think the big issue with them is they want to work on, you know, some of his footwork, some of his awareness in the pocket. I think they want to work on his throwing motion. I think they just want to tighten things up. And I think it's smart to take a year to tighten it up because he clearly is talented. They saw that he's going to be their guy. He's going to be their franchise quarterback.
Yeah.
So why rush it? Because Henne's not terrible.
Well, yeah. So that's the reason why he's in a gut call, because I think he's getting a bad rep. And I think we all need to take a step back and realize that Jacksonville, although you know,
Much improved.
still on their way in, but they're much improved, so I give them credit. However, as far as the bench warmers are concerned, Cecil Shorts is back, but we haven't seen him. I don't think you can start him with any sort of confidence. We have Marquise Lee, ranked number 56, and he does have some je ne sais quoi. He really does. I like him. I don't like him this week, and let's just get him in there. But, you know, as a rookie, you know, so far he's caught 8 passes for 94 yards and 2 touchdowns in the preseason, and no one's talking about it. Now, that's with the Bortles. But, yeah. And, you know, I mean, we'll see. He's not ready for your fantasy team, but I like him. Philadelphia Eagles. Play if you got him. Everyone, this is a Bears thing. Let's just do it. Okay, I don't want to bore you. I would even start Cooper and Matthews at flex in any pinch situations. No problem. Got calls. Zach Ertz is the only one in there, but I am going to say once again, we have him ranked at number 9, which is a starter, because they are running 2 tight end sets all the time. And just to let you know, in the preseason, he got 8 passes for 110 yards and a touchdown. And you know what? Brent Selleck also caught 4 passes for 86 yards. Like, they're using both of them. I don't think that – I think even though Brent Selleck's there, because at first I felt like, you guys, I don't understand. But now I get it. 2 tight end sets, they're really working for them. And I think he's going to do a good job. So, but he's still in the gut calls because you're right. Ben Selleck's there. And, you know, they have other weapons.
He's not just a blocking tight end this year, though. Like, he's seen the ball a bit more.
Well, he wasn't a blocking tight end last year either, but he was a rookie and just didn't understand the playbook. You know,
I mean Selleck. Sorry,
Selleck. Oh, yeah.
Tight end, which could have some sort of impact on Ertz.
That is correct. Yes. Bench warmers, no one except for maybe Jordan Matthews because he's a rookie, and who wants to start a rookie week 1?
Some do.
Benjamin owners.
Okay.
Yes.
Just saying.
Okay, that's true.
Washington Redskins at the Houston Texans.
Who's so excited for this game? Kind of am. I'm not gonna lie.
I am too. I was like, this is actually pretty fascinating.
I'm not.
Gurney wouldn't be, but I'm intrigued. I'm intrigued because, you know, playing if you got him, Alfred Morris, he's ranked 10th on our running back list. Deshaun Jackson's ranked 21. Deshaun Jackson has been a talent in the league for years. Doesn't matter. He's on a different team. He's, like, fine in the preseason. Green light, go. But Pierre Garçon, so I'm going to talk about in the, you know, play him if you got him. So we have him ranked 25. People are nervous that RG3 is not thrown for a single touchdown in the preseason. There's a lot of kind of, should Cousins be the starter talk? I can see Courtney shaking her head because she's been saying this since
2013.
of the season. It's not going to happen.
Yeah, it is going to happen.
It's not going to.
My whole prediction is that Kirk Cousins, you know, RG3 is going to come up with the Matt Schaub broken elbow excuse, and Cousins is coming in. And Shanahan's going to be like, I told you so. Just saying. Throwing it out there.
That's Courtney's bold prediction. I'm going to say, you know, I understand why you think this might affect Pierre Garçon and other receivers' fantasy value. We hear you. It's a bit nerve-wracking. But keep in mind what a train wreck the Redskins were last year, and Pierre Garçon was still able to garner enough offense to be a top receiver in the league, right?
Love
it. So, and this is a lot less of a train wreck thus far this year than last year. So that's a positive, right? And, you know, and with the whole game to make something happen and not just a few series and some preseason, I think that should calm your nerves down a little bit. You drafted him as a high receiver for a reason. You're starting him. Don't let this whole Cousins RG3 talk throw you off. You know, it is what it is. My gut calls, again, Robert Griffin III. We have him ranked 13. I don't love him, especially against the Houston defense. I think it could get ugly. But I think he'll have a really slow start and he'll have a better second half. I think you've got a better option. I think you drafted a better option than RG3. So I think it's worth the wait. That was what my gut's telling me.
Yep.
Your call. Jordan Reed, though. So this guy is chock full of potential. And normally, as we all know, I am not a fan of the potential guys. But Reed's a little bit special here because Reed was starting to emerge as a standout tight end, but then he was hampered with concussions which sidelined him for a bunch of games. Concussions are a bit scary, but thus far we have no reason to believe that he's going to be held out any of these games due to the concussions. And if RG3, so whenever there is a struggling quarterback, tight ends usually tend to benefit from this, right? Because they don't have enough time in the pocket to go for the deep ball threats. What they do is they dump it off. And Alfred Morris, I want to say, had less than 10 receptions all last year. So this isn't the kind of situation where they run, have the running back come out for a receiving play. It's not going to happen. So that means that all of these little dinks and dunks are going to Jordan Reed. So that is a positive for Jordan Reed. Keep this in mind as they're kind of trying to progress through their offense. So that's positive. But oddly enough, I have no one on the bench for the Redskins for how borderline awful of a team they are. I'm not benching anybody fantasy-wise.
Nope.
Which is really interesting.
Not anyone that people own. Yeah.
Right, yeah. Houston Texans, play me if you got him. Arian Foster. So Foster was out all season and didn't play at all in the preseason. A little scary, but don't let this scare you away from him, as he will be a starter on your team because A, he's playing against the Redskins, who have a horrendous defense. They've ranked second to last. That's encouraging.
You're welcome.
Right? That's a nice little buffer way to come back, right? It's like, okay, I'll play the second worst defense in the league.
Mm-hmm.
I'll ease my way in. And then B, Foster's been a top rusher in the league since he entered the NFL. And C, he was out all season having a back surgery injury, and there's no way he would be cleared to play unless all doctors were absolutely sure that he was ready to roll. You don't mess with back injuries. You don't do it. So feel good about him. He's an older player. They were holding him out. They were just being cautious. They're not concerned. I'm not concerned. Foster's saying he's feeling great. You're ready to roll with him. Andre Johnson, this kind of goes to what Tyson was talking about. He's talented enough to make something happen even when there is the quarterback controversy, so I'm not too nervous about him. What I am nervous about is my guff calls, which would be DeAndre Hopkins. So he's another one that's been having a great preseason at training camp. It's not really equating on the field yet. And initially the thought was that, with the holdout with Johnson, that he was going to create this fantastic rapport with Fitzpatrick. He's going to have a little bit of a step up. I'm not saying that isn't fully what's going to happen, but right now it's not looking pretty either. And now with the whole, Ryan Mallett coming, we've got this whole quarterback competition. The people that suffer the most in that case are the receivers. And so I don't feel good about it. I think you have another option, play the other person. Bench warmers would be Garrett Graham, and then, again, Ryan Fitzpatrick for the exact same reason. So it doesn't exactly show a whole lot of confidence when you sign a guy after preseason games and make him your second backup without ever having him played with your actual team.
Yeah.
Not a positive. Not a positive at all. Now, Fitzpatrick has been named the starter, so, you have to assume he's the starter. But, let's just all hope this quarterback competition is quick and painless, and they make a decision, and it doesn't get dragged out to halfway through the season. That's all you can hope for as far as the Houston wide receivers, to have as much fantasy value as we thought they were going to.
Cool.
Bam. Cincinnati Bengals, the Baltimore Ravens. Bengals. AJ Green. Hello. Love you. Rank 6. Gonna play him. Cincinnati's defense. 3rd for week 1. Yeah, because they're going against Flacco. Cha-ching. Hope you drafted them. And Giovanni Bernard. We have him 9th. Everybody drafted him really high. All of a sudden, all this buzz happened with Jeremy Hill.
I'm not taking it.
I am on the Jeremy Hill train, but I'm telling you it's not going to happen in the first 4 games.
I'm not on either of their trains.
Well, I didn't draft
Bernard, but Cincy running backs, period.
That's because you're a car snob.
Listen, yeah, no, that is why their new offensive coordinator came in. They're a run first with Hugh Jackson. They're gonna be running the ball. I think Giovanni is gonna have a good game. I'm into it. It's fine. It'll be fine. I like it.
Yay! Thank you.
Yay.
Not on board.
You're not on board.
Negative Nancy.
Did everyone forget his play last season? He and Green Ellis switched on and off every single game, and neither one of them were consistent all season long. That's the reason for the whole quarterback committee situation. It's the reason they brought Jeremy Hill in.
And I don't disagree, and I believe actually that will be the situation halfway through the season, maybe even sooner. But yes, I think that they're going to really try to support Bernard at the first 4 games. Maybe, Hill will come in sooner. He did have a great preseason, and he's a great player. But I think you're good to go with Bernard week 1. So good, he's good.
Are you ready for my bold statement? I would almost draft Ryan Matthews over Bernard, and we all know my dislike for Ryan Matthews.
That's crazy.
Hit the fast forward button. Ashley's losing it.
Just saying.
Good calls, Mohamed Sanu, we have him 59th. I wouldn't touch him yet, but, to each their own. I think you need to wait on that one and make him prove it. And Andy Dalton, we have him 20th, so most likely you're not going to start him. I would start him. I love Dalton. I think he's great. He was a top quarterback, one of the top quarterbacks last year. And this matchup seems right for him to have a good game. New offensive coordinator seems to think that Dalton and Green are the best quarterback duo to hit the football field. So I think this might be Dalton's way to introduce himself into 2014 and be like, hey, I am real. My talent's legit. So just saying that. Jeremy Hill, we have him ranked 37th. I'd wait, but I love him. Future references. And Benchwarmer's the kicker, and I'm not even going to say his name because it's not important. Hopefully you didn't draft him. The Baltimore Ravens. Play him if you got him. I'm just going to go through this. Dennis Pitta. He's back. Everybody likes him. We have him ranked 10th. Play him. Torrey Smith. Why not? Somebody's got to catch the ball, right? And kickers do matter on the Baltimore Ravens. Justin Tucker.
Oh, your favorite.
Yes. We just did a draft at the ESPW today, and he was the first kicker, and he went off the board, way early. Way early.
Oh, wow.
It was really funny. But he's awesome, and he's a good person, and he's a great kicker, and no more Prater. Let's do Tucker. Got calls. Bernard Pierce, we have him ranked 35th. He is the #1 running back, guys, this week. So if you have him, this is the week to start him in your flex. So do it. Benchwarmer's Joe Flacco. Steve Smith needs to prove himself on the new team until I start him as a flex player, or my 3rd wide receiver as well. So hardcore analysis for Cincinnati and Baltimore. We'll see what Tennessee Titans that the Kansas City Chiefs have got for us.
I have 0 play him if you got him from the Titans.
Yeah.
0.
That's true.
It's a little sad. I've got some gut calls, though. So I've got Kendall Wright and Nate Washington. Do you feel like everybody has forgotten that Nate Washington plays in the NFL? Myself included. We don't even have him ranked. And he's a starting wide receiver.
No.
Sad Nate Washington. But, Kendall Wright's interesting because he's a volume player. He's not a guy that's going to score you your fantasy points off touchdowns. He only had 2 touchdowns all last year, but he had over 1,000 yards. So that's how he's getting your points. He is targeted a lot. He had 140 targets and caught 94 passes. So when you were drafting Wright, you're looking off those numbers, and again, this is volume. So where the problem comes into play here is now Justin Hunter. Right, because Justin Hunter's been having a fantastic preseason. And he actually didn't get a whole lot of play, but played well last year. So Justin Hunter had 4 touchdowns, only off 18 receptions and less than 400 yards. That's a pretty good ratio, 4 touchdowns to 18 receptions. I think he was only targeted, I want to say, 38 times as well. So, low targets, but great production when he was targeted. But it's kind of shifted, right? So now he's actually been targeted more this preseason than Kendall Wright, which should be a little bit scary for Kendall Wright owners, quite honestly.
No.
Are you a Kendall Wright owner?
In one of my many leagues.
Well, it's a little scary. I mean, he's had 8 catches, with 2 touchdowns, 164 yards in the preseason, right? And Wright only had 4 catches for 38 yards. That's a bad ratio for Wright owners. It's a really bad ratio. So, it looks like some of those yards are going to be going Hunter's way, which has me a little bit nervous for Wright owners. Just throwing it out there right now. Keep your eye on it. bench Jake Locker. He's ranked 26. We shouldn't even have to get into why you're going to bench him. And then Sean Green and Bishop Sankey. Neither of these guys are dream picks. You know, Sankey shows promise, but has had a really bad habit of fumbling this preseason, like really bad. But the problem was interesting. He was ranked 3rd, and he actually has moved up within the last day in the depth chart to 2nd. So now he is legitimately the backup. Dexter McCluster's moved into the 3rd spot. McCluster's, again, one of those weird hybrid players that you never really quite know how he's going to be incorporated. Again, kind of stay away from the hybrid players. But Sankey's got potential to probably surpass Green after a few games. It's not going to happen this game. They got to get those fumble issues under control. So I would not start them these weeks. Either one of them. You're not looking at them. Kansas City Chiefs. You're obviously starting Jamal Charles. He's the 2nd-ranked running back. Yep. He's like one of the top guys off the board in your draft period. He's a no-brainer. You're starting him. Even though he's going against Clowney and J.J. Watt, this should not concern you. Again, you don't butt your studs. Gut calls would be Alex Smith. More than likely, it's not even a gut call because 24 is pretty low down on the quarterback rankings. Again, the only reason I mentioned him is if you did decide to wait on quarterbacks and you purely drafted quarterbacks for the matchup basis. I still don't think this is your week because Houston D's pretty decent, so not really. Donnie Avery, if you did pick him up, this would be the only week really to play him because Dwayne Bowe is out with suspension. So there's this. If you're gonna play him, this is the week. I'm not telling you to play him. In fact, I would bench him. But if you're in a really deep league and this is a guy that you took a flyer on, this would be the week because you're not playing any of their time. And you're also not going to play Anthony Fasano. So Fasano is the starting tight end, but Travis, Kelsey's the one that's getting all the attention, and it's because Kelsey's getting the looks in the red zone, and he's being incorporated a lot in these goal line plays, and Fasano's not really getting the looks in the red zone, so stay away from that as well.
All right, Minnesota Vikings at St. Louis Rams. Vikings, AP all day, every day. No worries.
There we go. Woo, woo.
Start. Boo. I'm on the purple train this year. I'm gonna say it every week until they break my heart.
Your color's purple, even.
It is.
Good.
It's fuchsia. Kyle Rudolph. We have him ranked 11th, but I'm starting him. I own him. I'm playing him. Cordero Patterson. Yeah, we have him ranked 13th. Go. And Blair Walsh. He's a kicker. If you didn't know that. He's awesome, and he's got a great game. Awesome. Gut calls. Minnesota's defense. We have them ranked 15th, and this might be the highest they ever get ranked. So you might want, if you waited on a defense, you got a defense that has a really bad matchup. This might be the team to pick up this week and play. I'm just, why not? Why not? St. Louis last year gave up the fewest points to opposing tight ends. So I just want to say for Rudolph's sake, if he doesn't have the best game this week, don't get scared. Okay? Don't get scared. It's okay. Greg Jennings is on my bench.
Sad.
It is sad. Hopefully he'll get into the gut call situation, flex player. And Matt Castle, he's just fighting for his job. Don't let him fight for your quarterback position on your fantasy team, okay? St. Louis Rams.
Zach Stacy, play him if you got him. I'm really glad the Trey Mason talk has died down, right?
Right.
But it's been laid to rest a bit here. I mean, we called it early on with Stacy was still going to be the guy in St. Louis, and he is, and he should be the guy on your team. And he hasn't had the flashiest preseason, but at the end of the day, you still got to throw Stacy into your lineup. Flex at the minimum. I would expect a high-end RB2 production, quite honestly. Especially against a Vikings D. So I like him. My gut calls Tavon Austin and Kenny Britt. You really shouldn't be looking at any of these guys. I got them ranked 46 and 70. I only mention them if you're in an insanely deep league. Tavon Austin has a bit more upside, but the fact that Sean Hill hasn't had much time to develop chemistry with them should be reason enough for you to keep him on your bench. So I think you've got better options. Bench warmers, Jared Cook. Being ranked 24 of all the 10 ends should give you no encouragement to take a risk on this guy. Yes, the Vikings defense is nothing to write home about, But neither has Jared Cook play been over the last year. And at least the Vikings defense is in the middle of the pack. We have them ranked 15th. The same can't be said for Jared Cook at this time. So just don't go there. And again, don't go there with Trey Mason either. I know it's fun to root for rookies. It's fun to want to have one on your team. But he's the third-ranked guy right now. He's got possibility to maybe be a flex position down the road, but it's not happening anytime soon. Just let it go.
Yeah.
Let it go.
I will refrain from Frozen at that moment, but we'll move on to the Oakland Raiders and the New York Jets. My stay-at-home mommy wanted me to let it go. Okay, I just did it. Okay,
You did it.
Sorry, I did it. I'll move on. Raiders.
I can't stand that song.
Raiders. This will be short. Sorry, there's no starters. Bummer.
Shocking.
Got also Maurice Jones-Drew. We have him at 34, so you might
Hey.
him. And he is the best for fantasy potential in the Raiders. So, yay!
Hands down.
Maurice Jones-Drew. Yeah, this could be it. Last year, the Jets gave up the 5th fewest points to opposing running backs, so it might not be it. Gut call, definitely. I think the Oakland Raiders running back situation is that. And, this is interchangeable between gut call and bench, all of the wide receivers. Derek Carr just got announced as the starting quarterback, and that's very exciting because we all know that he is a much better option than Matt Schaub. So that's a positive thing for the wide receivers, but it's going to take a moment for them to get some chemistry. They have a hard schedule this year. I'm not in love with any of them. So if you drafted a Raiders, let's hold off a little bit, okay? Let's just hold off.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. The Jets hosting the Raiders. I pretty much want you to start whoever you drafted from the Jets, right? There are only certain people. Eric Decker, ranked 26th. Chris Johnson, ranked 25. I feel good about both of them. Do it. Got calls. Hear me out. Geno Smith. I know. I'm like the ultimate Geno Smith apologist.
I'm okay with that.
It's going up against the Raiders, and you know what? Like, if you look at his numbers from last year, this is the kind of game that he gets 20-plus points. So, I mean,
It's true.
I'm just putting it out there. I'm not saying that you should start him, but I'm saying he may get 20-plus points, and that's just the way it is. We'll see. Bench warmers. Watch Ivory, but don't start Ivory. We have him ranked 46. That's fair, because you know what? He may get a rushing touchdown this week against the Oakland Raiders. So, I don't know. If you're in a really desperate, like deep league situation, you want to start him at a flex, okay. But do keep an eye on him. Let's see how he and Chris Johnson kind of go back and forth. But I'm pretty confident in Chris Johnson.
Me too. I like him. Yeah. San Francisco 49ers at Dallas Cowboys.
San Francisco 49ers have not scored a touchdown with their starting people. So I'm concerned.
Thank God they're playing with Dallas Cowboys defense.
But that's what I'm going to say. Start everyone.
Yeah, the only saving grace.
It just got crazy up in here. I am telling you to start everyone. I don't care what's going on. Dallas's defense is a mess. Frankly, you're welcome, Dallas, that you get Michael Sam, because clearly you need any help you can get.
I'm pretty stoked he got picked up somewhere.
Yeah, I am too, and he's originally from Texas. It's going to be a good thing for him. But you know
Practice
what?
Squad, that stuff.
Yeah, Frank Gore, ranked number 20, continues to rock it every year. Every year, you guys think he's dead. He's still alive. He's rocking it. I don't understand.
Brandon, life ends at 30. I thought we all knew this.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Well, let me tell you.
It's a lie. It's a lie.
It gets good, people. It gets good. Also, by the way, Kaepernick only had a 54.5 completion rate in the preseason. Doesn't look good. But he did this against Green Bay last year, too, remember? Then he went out into a 30-point fantasy game. So I actually, believe it or not, believe in Colin Kaepernick this week. If I get burned, I'm very angry. Vernon Davis is in the gut calls, not because he's a gut call, but because, you guys, I cannot believe people are more confident in Dennis Pitta than Vernon Davis.
I know!
Yeah.
What is going on?
What
He dropped so far in the draft. I got him in so many drafts because he just kept dropping, and I was like,
I know.
you guys,
Well, it's because Kaepernick has looked so bad. So bad.
I don't
and
care.
Joe Flacco is amazing.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not on the Pita train.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or Jordan Reed when RG3 looks so bad. I don't understand. So
Right.
anyway, that happened.
I would
and
take
then
Reed over Pitta, hands down.
You love that
Perhaps.
concussion kid.
Yeah, you really do. But you
No
know
doubt.
what? There are no bench warmers. Play him.
Play him. Play him. I'll tell you who's on the bench, the Cowboys defense. We already discussed this. They're benching people.
Yeah.
They're benched. I'm sorry. You're awful. Ugh. It's like, don't live and die by matchups, but if your guys are playing the Dallas Cowboys, you're starting them, okay? Got calls,
Yeah.
Tony Romo. We have him at 16th. You know, it could be a blowout. It could be a shootout. It's really up in the air to what the Cowboys are going to come out doing. They're obviously going to probably be needing to make up points and throwing the ball. So that's only positive for Dez. Woohoo!
Hey, Dez Bryant.
Don't worry about him. He'll be fine. Terrence Williams, I start him this week. Start him, guys. They're gonna have to throw the ball to come back and make this a competitive game. Jason Witten, yeah. DeMarco Murray, yeah. Dan Bailey, yeah. I like all of them. I like all of
Love
them.
me some Dan
San
Bailey.
Francisco's defense is a little beat up, so they have a chance to throw it out and make
Yeah.
it happen. DeMarco Murray catches passes, so he's not just a running back; he's a receiver as well. So, bam, bam. Carolina Panthers at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. What? Carolina's defense. Hey.
So good.
Hello.
So good.
Yeah, they're amazing. They're just great. And, the Bucs have improved their offensive line, but the Panthers have the best front seven in the game. So you're going to start them.
Rams
They're
are
gonna be
close.
great.
They're debatable.
Okay. You're going to play them. They're going to be great. And,
Okay.
okay. And you know what? It's crazy to say that in my starters is the defense and the tight end, Greg Olson. 7th, Mr. Reliable. Love him. Gut calls Cam Newton, and it's a gut call whether he's even going to play. Everybody says he's going to play. He's going to be fine. He is a stud. He is a man that works through a lot of injuries. So he's going to try to I think he's going to start and he's going to try to put himself out there. But he is a guy that if you have an Andy Dalton or somebody else below him that has a really good matchup, you might want to play them over Cam this week. Stinks. He's your guy, and we usually say don't bunch him, but he is really hurt. It's a bruised rib. That's not healthy for anybody. Calvin Benjamin, rookie, 40. We have him ranked 41. I love him. I think he's a great flex player this week. He needs to prove himself to you, to his team, to his quarterback. And I think this game is going to be a really good test for him. So I'm okay with him. Bench warmers, there's no really need to start any of the running backs for Carolina. That's going to be like an overall theme probably throughout the season unless one of them just blows up. But, we'll see. I'm benching them until I feel good.
Good call.
I like it. On to the Bucks.
The Bucks.
I'm going to start off with the Carolina D is really good, so I would temper all expectations, period, for this whole game. But you're playing if you got him Vincent Jackson. So Vincent Jackson's one of those quiet top receivers in the league. He's that guy that when you're actually trying to count down like who the top 10 receivers are, you're like, I'm forgetting someone.
Yeah. So
Who
true.
am I forgetting? And it's always Vincent Jackson. Because he's been on the Bucs. The Bucs were terrible last year. They haven't been like a really, really standout team for a few years now. But he still consistently is always a top receiver. You need to play him, even though it's against the Panthers. My gut call would be Mike Evans. This is an interesting game of two of the actually more potential receiver rookies, higher potential ceiling guys here, with Kelvin Benjamin and Mike Evans. So normally we're not a fan of starting rookies in a position other than possibly the running back, but Mike Evans has a possibility to be a standout this year. He could be a really hot red zone target as well because Vincent Jackson will more than likely be double teamed, which is going to leave Mike Evans open. So I think you're more likely to get points for him in a touchdown situation than yards, but I think he's got the potential. So keep your eye on him. He's been drafted fairly high. We have him ranked 38, so he's on that cusp. So keep your eye on him. Again, temper your expectations for this game. Doug Martin. I think there are a few players that people are more nervous about than Doug Martin, largely due to his slow start last year and, with his injury. But the addition of Logan Minkins, and Martin showing some versatility as far as being a receiving back as well as just a rushing back, I think it should be encouraging. You should be feeling a little bit encouraged. Don't be as nervous. And again, you drafted him as a starter, so you're going to have to play him thus far as a starter until he proves otherwise. But don't freak out and drop him if he doesn't super perform fantastically again against the Panthers, because this is like a number 2 defense here. This is a fantastic defense. So don't hit the panic button if it's not, wonderful this game. Bench Josh McCown, let's be honest, you drafted other people, better quarterbacks, and there's just, we haven't ranked 28. He shouldn't even be a possibility. So I just needed someone to throw on my bench. So it's McCown.
Sunday Night Football. First game, Indianapolis Colts to the Denver Broncos.
Yeah.
Fantasy
We're
origin.
saying a lot tonight.
I'm calling it out. I'm saying it. I'm loving it.
Season.
Here we go. Andrew Luck. You drafted him. We're playing him. He's going to have a big year. I think he'll still do great against Denver defense. I'm into it. I'm going to be a Luck fan all year until he screws me over, okay? Gut calls the wide receivers. T.Y. Hilton, Reggie Wayne, Hakeem Nicks, they're all so close together, and I don't know who's going to have the breakup. They're all kind of boomer bust players. With the
Denver for sure.
Yeah, Reggie Wayne's back, and hopefully he's great. Hakeem Nicks is on the team. He's new, so maybe they'll have sparks of wonderfulness out of him. I love all of them, but against the Broncos defense in Denver and being the first game of the season, they're all question marks to me. If you drafted them, their second running wide receiver, you're going to start him. So good luck. And bench warmer Trent Richardson. I can't believe we just have him ranked so high. I think everybody does, and we have to. But he only averaged 2.9 yards per carry as a Colt last year. So, the end.
That's fair. He's looked better this preseason than last year. But yeah, last year was
great.
Certainly. The Broncos. I'm going to oddly start the opposite and talk about my bench. And my only bench is Wes Welker. Again, he's suspended.
He's not even playing.
He had a concussion. He's out for games. He's your bench, obviously. I'm just saying this because in case you didn't hear the news, he's out. So as far as who I'm starting, those are the obvious, right? Peyton Manning, second right quarterback. Demaryius Thomas, number 2 ranked wide receiver. Julius Thomas, number 2 ranked tight end. There's clearly a theme going here. Number 2. Monty Ball's a must-start as well. He's the only one I'm semi-nervous about. We have him ranked 6th. I think we're probably the only ones nervous because, again, he is kind of unproven. But again,
and we're Bronco fans.
Yeah, we're Bronco
fans.
Yeah, but he's around such a fantastic team. He's got a fantastic offensive line. They're going to open up some holes for him. My biggest concern is that Hellman or Anderson will come in on the goal line, but only time will tell. Either way, he'll get yards, so feel good about starting him. And Emmanuel Sanders is a must-start as well.
Must start.
Which is crazy because oddly you were still able to get him pretty low. I felt like everybody saw the preseason game and was like, hello, starter, but people didn't. You were still able to get him between the 7th and 9th round in most drafts. But with Wes Welker out, all this does is just raise his stock even more, right? Because now you got another option out, which leaves my gut call, which would be Andre Caldwell. Again, we kind of talked about this between him and Cody Latimer, who you get to play. We're going to go with Andre Caldwell because he is higher on the depth chart. He is, a veteran. He'd be the obvious pick right here. Don't be surprised if Latimer does emerge. But, Peyton has no qualms about throwing the ball. And you can get him on the waiver wire if you have to pick him up, especially in Wes Welker's absence. So, feel pretty good about it.
Prater's out too, people.
Prater's out as well. Yeah, again.
Yeah, if you drafted him early draft, he's not playing first 4 games.
Get yourself a backup quarterback.
Man.
This is a skirt, by the way.
Well, I want to move us on to brighter news, but we're going to talk about the New York Giants.
Yes.
Lions.
Everyone's favorite team.
Rashad Jennings, my favorite. I love Rashad Jennings.
Yeah.
Yay. It's like the light of the New York Giants. I love him. Victor Cruz we have ranked 27th, and right behind him I ranked Ruben Randall. Love him this year. I just love him. Everyone's gonna be covering Victor Cruz, and Ruben Randall's gonna have these moments, and if you're starting him, you're gonna be enjoying those moments. So I like him. I like him a lot, and he's as long as he gets that chemistry with Eli,
What chemistry?
He's a great flex.
What chemistry?
Yeah. I know it's hard. It's hard.
It's a stretch.
Yeah. Gut calls Andre Williams. We have him ranked 45th. Again, this is another thing that I feel like we're going to see more stuff out of him later on in the season. I think this is the time for Rashad Jennings to shine. But we all know how Coughlin is. Don't mess with his running game because you will be benched very quickly. So just keep an eye on him. And benchwarmers, tight ends. We don't even have one ranked. And Eli Manning because, it's Eli.
Sad.
I like it. Got the Lions. Again, some obvious picks. Matthew Stafford, Calvin Johnson. You're playing them. Reggie Bush. Bush has had some fumble woes in the past, but it's a new season, and it's a new coach, and it's a new offense, quite honestly. So this might scare some people. But Bush is pretty adaptable, and is still starting back on a high-scoring team. So you can feel good about that. And I had Joique Bell, Joique or whatever, for sake of the French thing, in the gut calls. But I'm bumping him up right now to must starts because he and Reggie Bush really are interchangeable. And I said it. I'm going to make a bold statement that I think he really could have more fantasy points at the end of the season than Bush. Because again, he's not a handcuff guy. He's a situational player. And he plays a lot, and he touches the ball a lot. So I'm also going to put my must start. Golden Tate I've got in that kind of gut call. But I have a good feeling about Golden Tate. I really do. He's not the most potential guys I used to like to rag on for underperformance, and he did. But he was on the Seattle offense, and they didn't throw the ball that much. I mean, Russell Wilson really didn't have many games over 200 passing yards. So how could this guy score a whole lot? But now he's on a completely opposite team where it is throw, and he's going to be the beneficiary of that, especially when they're double-teaming Calvin Johnson. So his stock is rising. I like him a lot. My real only bench is Eric Ebron because we have him ranked 23, which is interesting because we don't even have the – and he's a third-string wide receiver, tight end, by the way. So you've got Brandon Pettigrew, then you've got Joseph Faria, and then it's Eric Ebron. And he's the only one we have ranked.
You gotta pick one. They're all not worth it.
Yeah. I mean, he's got probably the most upside, but again, he's a third-string tight end. Don't fall prey to this. Definitely in the first week, he's got to prove it to you.
Boom. San Diego Chargers at Arizona Cardinals.
San Diego Chargers, Keenan Allen. Hello. Anyone who gets over 1,000 yards in your rookie season gets a second chance on my team. That's all I'm saying.
Check.
And as far as gut calls, I'm putting Phillip Rivers there. He's borderline a starter, but the Cardinals, you got to respect him. Last year he threw 32 touchdowns and only 11 interceptions. So I also think the Cardinals might have a tougher game for their defense because I don't think Phillip Rivers is going to mess up that much. So putting that out there. And then Ryan Matthews.
Bold prediction.
Yeah. But they do have Ryan Matthews still, so there is hope for the Cardinals.
So that's exactly what I was going to say. So he fumbled on the goal line, and everyone's been talking about it. And then also Donald Brown and Danny Woodhead played a lot in the preseason with the first team. So we have Ryan Matthews at 18. I'm not quite sure. And Arizona is really stingy against the runs, so I don't know. And I don't think those two other players are going away. So this is a to be continued. To be continued. Benchwarmers. Ladarius Green. Once again, I know that players get old and move on, but Antonio Gates is the #1 tight end in San Diego. He was the #1 tight end in the preseason. Don't jump on this hype bandwagon. Ladarius Green's very talented, but right now you should not be starting him in your fantasy football leagues. Boom.
No. Boom. Cardinals. Hey, Larry Fitzgerald and Michael Floyd, they've got something good going, and I like it. I like
both of
it.
them. Like
I
them
love both of them. I love both of them, which is crazy because Carson Palmer is their quarterback. But I like both of them. And I'm gonna make
Palmer had a good second half of last year, though.
sure. Yeah, right.
First
Yeah.
half of the year,
Palmer throws a lot of yards and touchdowns. He just also throws a lot of interceptions. He's like
Exceptions,
Cutler.
right, exactly. So he'll get you the points for your wide receivers is the point of it. And
Yep.
I think that Floyd is going to end up being the top wide receiver on the team.
Really?
I do. I just like him. I like him a lot. Andre Ellington, another must start. Love him. You're great. If you drafted him, you're playing him. It's good to go. It's good to go. Carson Palmer, we have him ranked 14th. So if you're going to play Palmer in any game, this probably is going to be the one. So
Yeah.
San Diego's defense, you know.
Just
Hey. And, Arizona's defense, I have them as I got called. Arizona's defense is great. They're in the top 10 defenses this week, too. But as we said, Phillip Rivers knows how to score points. He does. He also knows how to throw interceptions.
But there's
That's
that nice
true.
little wrapped up gift called Ryan Matthews for them.
Absolutely. And that is why you're most likely going to start them. But I'm just saying, San Diego knows how to score. They just do. Just do.
Yeah.
And you know what? Benchwarmers' team hasn't really acknowledged any tight ends, so yet again, sorry.
It's the saddest position. They're
It
so
is.
unacknowledged. That's the best word.
Yeah.
Not been acknowledged.
No, it's sad. It really is. It's week 1, people!
Football is back.
Give me my football. I cannot wait to get a big thing of Corona Light with limes and make some clam dip and just sit on my tushy.
I know. It's going to be amazing.
My friend planned a game night, and I was like, I
No?
will come to your game night as long as the TV is on for the
What? Oh,
Stop
God,
it.
you're such a sucker. No
I am a
way.
sucker. It's
Like,
hard for me
no,
to
and
say
I'm
no.
offended you even asked me, is what I would have said.
Game night.
It's
It is
Red
game
Zone
night.
all day, people. Well, everyone had a wonderful draft season. It was very exciting. We're in tons of drafts, so we will be offended by many players this year. And we're so excited. So good luck in week 1, everybody. Make sure to check us out at herfantasyfootball.com and on iTunes. Tweet at us at herfantasyfb. Until next week, no more faking it.